Welcome back to the Real Estate Huddle, and we are on episode 90 today. We're going to talk about winning buyer strategies in a hot summer market today. So obviously we've seen a lot of shifts in the market, some dynamics changing with inventory going from like 6,500 last year this same time all the way up to almost 13,000 homes on the market. So more than 100% increase, double what we had, and it's definitely changed the dynamic of the market. And so with that said, there's new strategies for buyers than we had even last year, and definitely different than what we did in the pandemic, right? When during that crazy time when it was so just nuts, as far as the competing offers and everything goes. And so we're going to talk about kind of what we're doing to help buyers in today's market. If you're home shopping, or if you're just curious of what the process looks like and thinking about jumping into the waters of purchasing a property or making a move and selling your home and buying a different place, downsizing, upsizing, whatever, hopefully this will be valuable to you. So we'll get started, and let's talk about just we talked about inventory going up. You guys, what else are we seeing out there as far as interest rates go, for example?
The interest rates are definitely keeping a lot of buyers on the fence right now. Mm-hmm. So they're fairly high, which really pushes that affordability aspect that you're seeing people struggle with.
Yeah.
But I think the incentive, like new builds, kind of what we talked about, where new builds are really lowering the interest rate a lot. So that's pretty attractive in that department.
Yeah. These lower fixed interest rates by builders are drawing a lot of people for sure. Definitely. Yeah, we've seen rates go like 6.97 on average, and then down to 6.92 the next day. And then we're like, oh yeah, we're getting some momentum. 6.87. Oh yeah, come on, it's coming down. And then 7.25.
That was the bottom of the trough.
Banging our head on the brick wall again. So It's just been really frustrating. Like teaser rates, like constantly, and hopefully, like there's economists that have just sworn that we're going to get to 6 by this year. And so if that happens, it's going to save a lot of people money, and I think get a lot of people off the fence too. So it should be good. What are you guys seeing, like, as you're showing homes, as far as like, because buyers have more options, fill in the blank. What's happening there?
The part that I'm seeing the most is the buyers have a lot of homes to look at, but those that can look past the cosmetic things. So like a home that's been on the market for 100 days around here, which averages 60. So being on the market for 100 days is a real long time, but there's a great opportunity to be able to get that at a really great deal. I had some clients that we ended up purchasing a home in April, and they got almost a 10% equity stake in the property when they bought the home. Yeah. But they were able to look past some of the cosmetic stuff, and based on what it appraised for versus what they purchased, and that's $160,000 in your pocket. That's a big deal. But you have to be willing to take on some of that headache. Yeah. So versus the homes that are perfectly staged and well maintained and everything else, they're selling quickly. So you have to kind of be ready and see what you're looking at. So it's hard to cast that vision. So there's some good apps that you can like paint the wall with the app and like, okay, I'm going to move this color over here and see past that dark red paint in the wall that you can't quite see, that type of stuff. So it's pretty interesting. So having the ability to still be flexible can really save you a lot of money.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'd say not being scared off by list prices. I think there are some homes that have been on the market, 100, 150 days, and buyers see the list price and they're like, I wouldn't pay that for that home, and so they kind of skip past it. But I've definitely told some of my clients, like, hey, some of those we could get you a really good deal on. So if it's one that you're interested in and you're getting scared off by the list price a little bit, they could be wrong about that list price. So it's still worth putting in an offer and seeing what kind of deal you can get.
So Jackson, like twice this year, I've seen you negotiate down $75,000 off of a list price to a purchase price. How did you do that? Or what did that feel like?
Just celebrating for days, Gatorade being poured on my head.
More so, like, what did it look like? What was the scenario? Like obviously they didn't just give it to you right away, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did you get there?
Yeah. For like each specific deal, obviously it's different. I think one of the biggest things is being willing to ask. Mm-hmm. I've had a deal where when we first put in our offer, the other agent said, "You must not get a lot of offers accepted, huh?" Is the very first thing that she said. And then,
Presumptuous?
months down the line after that fell out, and then they came back, they ended up going under contract at like a lower price than that original number.
Oh,
So
the tables have turned.
yeah, I'd say being willing to ask, being willing to frame it as like, hey, I have a really strong, great deal, and then having the information to back it up. Because when another agent pushes back and they say, hey, well, that's, so much below list price, why would my seller take this cut? If you're able to say, hey, look, this is a comparable house that sold 2 months ago, XYZ, and you have all of that information, they don't have time while they're on the phone to look it all up and get their side.
Yeah.
So you can win just, that's something I learned from you is just the more information you have, the easier it is to win.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, that data really comes into play, especially for someone that's more of an analytical person. They see that and they're more willing to give on something like that. So, oh yeah, that is a good point. It's all numbers based.
The one thing that I've used as a strategy is ask the listing agent, what comps did you use to come up with your list price?
Yep.
And have my list and then like, okay, this one, this one, this one. But if they're using one that's not in the realm of what it is, it's like figure out a way to exclude that from the list and then drop that average down. Sometimes it works. And, I had an agent that was just reluctant to even take any of that information. Well, he sat on the market for another 3 months. Sure enough, they sold and closed at a lower price than what we had initially offered. And meanwhile, their client is paying a mortgage payment for 3 months. It's like, well, that was your choice, but you had that opportunity. It was a logical number. It wasn't an insulting number, but they took offense to it at first, and then they ended up accepting it later on. So the market will adjust.
Yeah.
So being patient, and if you really like the house and they're asking too much for it, being patient and then revisiting that conversation. I don't know how many times you've called them back after they say, you haven't had a lot of offers accepted, have you? So
yeah, well, and that same person, it's like I stayed in touch with them for a long time, and then eventually they were like, we're gonna go another direction, and then I think it was like a month, 2 months later when they called and they're like, hey, well, actually, we really want to sell this house. So yeah, I think also being willing to lose out on it gives buyers some more flexibility. So if you have a lot of options in this market and you say, hey, I'd be happy with house A, I'd be happy with house B, I think that gives you leverage to say, hey, not that we should go and lowball everybody, but to say to house B, hey, look, we have a substitute, we have an alternative that is, desirable for these reasons. But if you're willing to work with us, I think they'd be happy if, we could get this much off the price so they could do these specific updates to this home and, we can do a deal with you. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's crazy how, you come back 2 weeks later with the same exact offer. And I think one of those, that had told you, go away, came back and accepted the offer. So
2 weeks later.
Yeah. Yep. Lock and change emotionally, right? With sellers right now. I mean, it's an emotional thing to be on the market for that long, and it's painful. So every day that goes by is a new sense of urgency sometimes that comes with that. So, and to your point, Brock, I think you had a great point there. Not all agents are created equal, listing agents, and you work with a pro, and they're dictating the pricing based on comps, right? They're showing the sellers, and the sellers may think that their home is worth here, but the agent's helping them understand, guys, in this market with this supply and demand, this is where I would price it, and they have a plan for it. You'd be surprised how many times when you ask that question, the agent is thinking to themselves, I don't know, I didn't really look at comps. I just talked to the sellers, and that's what they wanted to price at, right? And the literally the dog is walking the person, right? Some people just have no clue how to price a home as an agent, unfortunately, and that's why not all agents are created equal. And so because of that, the list price doesn't matter as much. It is all about the comps, right? That's what's the most important thing that we have to really hone in on is what is it someone actually paying for a similar house? And if we have something to stand on, then yeah, we can really drive the value down.
Yeah, if you've got 10 houses in a half a mile radius from that home listed and you're $200,000 more than them, you got to have some kind of features to offset that. And that's where having your data really makes a difference. So.
Totally. Yep.
Are you guys noticing that buyers are being more picky because they have more options? And are you guys showing more houses than you have in the past?
Yeah,
You think to people?
Definitely.
Definitely showing more and more in a closer proximity. So really casting like, okay, which neighborhoods do you want? And then all of the homes in that neighborhood, so you can really get a comparison. Because if you're looking at like a 1980s build in Highland or like Littleton area,
Yeah.
you're going to see a lot of homes that have either been well cared for and updated and versus the original home that people didn't care for as much. And there's a big disparity between those two. And sometimes the photos don't really illustrate that as well. So, but in person, you can tell. So that's what I've noticed, but it's a lot quicker showings for the homes that are don't have the appeal. So
Yeah. And the mindset of buyers right now is like, well, I'm seeing like 3 or 4 homes a day come up in my portal. So if I don't like something about this house, like I'm not going to come in low. I'm just going to keep waiting, go to the next one, you know? And so they're very selective about that. But I think is like to your point of creativity, like we got to help them see, like, if you like some things about the house, like think about what it could look like, you know, and go into it that way. But yeah, I think we're just showing more homes to buyers right now because of all the options that are available.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with more options, like there's been times in the market where it's like, hey, we're all going to go look at the one house in this neighborhood that's like listed and everybody's seen it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, hey, you know, you guys want to see this house? There's one just down the block that's very similar. Let's tack that one on too. And I think it just goes back to having leverage with negotiations. If you're trying to get a good deal, if you're in a market where you can say, hey, rates are high, I have lots of other options, and there's other great homes that are directly in the neighborhood, I think that's a good recipe to be able to negotiate, you know, money off of houses, off the list price, concessions, repairs, stuff like that. So.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think another strategy with buyers right now that we're using is like letting the seller know that we're super flexible on timing. You know, like if you're a buyer that it doesn't really matter to you when you close, then you can sometimes get the better deal on price because of that.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is like being complimentary and respectful when you offer. Like even on that house that we got 75,000 off of, like it was totally dated, but I think we complimented like, hey, the floor plan is actually really functional. Like we really like the way this home was built. So there's some nice things. It's not like you're giving up all your leverage if you say something nice about the home, right? You kind of need that to like get in the door so that people start to trust you a little bit. And it's not being fake. Like they're real, like comments and real feelings that we have, but it creates that trust that really helps that seller like feel like, okay, like I want to work with this person because, oh yeah, this is a nice person that's working with nice people. You know, I want them to live in my house because that is a big deal for some people, especially emotional sellers. Like they want someone to carry on with the house like they have and care for it like they have. And so a lot of those intangibles can really overcome a price obstacle sometimes. So,
yeah. The other thing with buyers is kind of know what they're looking for. So you are seeing more homes, but try and do quicker home tours for like, if there's something that's like a definite no, like the laundry room is, you know, got a rattlesnake in it or something horrible, right? Like it's an easy one to say, okay, let's just move on to the next one. Yeah. So I'm stacking showings a lot closer to one another just because of that. Where when there was not that many homes on the market, it was like, okay, we're going to write an offer in the driveway. So like really check every detail now, because if you like it, that's what we're going to do. So now they've got a little bit of time to think about it. So, and the other thing I've seen with buyers is if you're doing a lot of home showings is record like a video or name the house or do something to make it just so it's memorable so that like all the notes are there. So, so that way you can associate. Cause I had one client we looked at like 19 homes in a day. And by the time they all kind of blurred together, so it's like we started naming each one, numbering them, and kind of going through that. So it was organized on a spreadsheet because there were so many of them, but it's helpful. But
yeah, no, I was going to ask a strategy because I feel like when you see that many homes, you're like, this one had the cool bathroom, but you know, like you can't remember what you like and what you don't like about it, and I think it just turns into like a blur.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've been doing like recording like voice memos like while we're talking about the house as we're leaving it. Like what did you like, what did you not, and then say the name of the home. So that way you've kind of always got that, you know, the address and the name of the home. So that way it's a little bit easier to remember. So that way you've got something to regurgitate on because it's hard to bring all that back. So
yeah. On top of that, I'd say it's probably less stressful now for buyers We've had it where it's like, if you want to sleep on it, you might not sleep in the house because they're going to sell it by tomorrow. So we got to put the offer in. Now I think people have that option where they can say, hey, you know what, let's sleep on it. Or, you know, we're going to go see 5 more in a couple days. So let's hold off writing an offer on this one until we go see those. So I think as a buyer, it's a little less stressful knowing like you said, popular houses that look really good, they're still going fast. There's still competition. But if you're able to kind of look past some cosmetic things or look for a good deal, there's definitely opportunities there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing too is like understanding as a buyer, like there's opportunities that you haven't had in a long time. Like buying a home when your home hasn't sold yet, right? Like some sellers are willing to do that right now because they're desperate. They've been on the market for 60, 90, 120 days. And they're like, yeah, I mean, this is the first person that's written us an offer. So yeah, we'll take a chance that you'll sell your house, you know, in Iowa and then move here.
Yeah, the contingent offer.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but like there are some sellers that are in that mind space that they are okay with that right now. Just because they're
that used to be the norm.
Depends on the market. I mean,
it hasn't been in Denver for a long time.
In the recession, that happened more. If you have your home under contract, then it's all day long right now. People are willing to work with you.
Okay.
Those contingent contracts are just fine. And we have some great lending partners that have options for you to buy first and then sell second too without the contingency. One will even front the cash for you for a $3,500 flat rate fee. So there's some really good options there to make it convenient for you as a buyer, so you can strategize and, you know, not have to go through the hassle. Because a lot of people are they don't want to go through this process because it's too hectic, you know. And then there's others that don't want to lose their interest rate, you know. And so you can hold on to your interest rate. In some cases, that's another buyer strategy right now is hold on to your low 2% interest rate and keep it as a rental, and then go buy, you know. And that strategy works out really well for a lot of people. And that way you don't have the FOMO of what you're missing out on, right? Your payment is going to go up, so you have to have the income to support that for your new place. But you can cash flow your old house most likely if you have a 2 to 3% interest rate. No problem. We can probably make you money monthly that would go towards paying a little higher interest on the purchase. So those are some other things that I think a lot of people are weighing right now and considering that are just, you know, sitting on these low rates. So backup offers, that can be a strategy as well. You know, if you're loving a house that's under contract and you don't want that house to go back on the market, you can just write a backup offer and then be in next second position, right? So if that contract terminates, they go straight to you instead of going back on the market. So we've had a couple of people, you know, get houses that they've really wanted that way, especially unique properties that might have like big yards or back into amazing open space or green belts, stuff like that. So that can be a good strategy. Man, as far as other stuff goes, I think we've touched on quite a few. Anything else you guys can think of before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'd just say be bold, be willing to ask for things, be willing to try and get the price lower, things like that. I think we're in a market where you can afford to do that instead of saying like, oh, well, we don't want to offend the seller, and then they throw our offer into the shredder underneath the 13 other ones that they had.
Yeah.
Now it's like, you know, they've got to consider it seriously. So
you
might as well be bold and see where they're at and get yourself a deal.
Yep.
And I've always asked, okay, at the list price, it may not be what you want, but at what price is this home appealing to you? And see, I mean, if it's $200,000 off, you go, okay, maybe not. So then they didn't like it that much. But, you know, if it's, hey, if we could get the interest rate buy down for a permanent buy down on our interest rate, this home would be, you know, a good deal. So then that's part of the negotiation. So, and I've seen the other thing with buyers is you're getting a lot of the big ticket items taken care of at inspection, where in the crazy market when you had 1,200 homes on the market, it was not happening. So like it was take it or leave it. It was as is, right? No
Roof
warranty.
shot as is.
Yep. You can't
seriously.
You can't get insurance. That's not my problem. You wanted the house, right? So now there's actually some room to negotiate there. So not only is it in the purchase price of the home, but it's also in the inspection portion of the home. I remember appraisal gaps and you know, waiving inspection items to be requested, that type of stuff. So that stuff's kind of gone away. So you can really help the buyers, especially first-time home buyers, trying to get into the market and really make them a good, comfortable situation for them.
Yeah, and you're not discriminated if you're a low down payment buyer, right? If you're Chaffa, like getting that's a Colorado federal housing loan, like where you have basically a 1% down or even $1,000 down, you can get in and not be trumped by a cash offer or a conventional offer that's putting 40% down. Like it doesn't matter as much, where before it mattered a lot. So those
VA loans, those were like unheard of to be able to do a while back, and now those are still appealing now.
sellers are wondering, where are the buyers?
Yeah.
So
Join the military right now. Serve a term. Get VA benefits.
well, and a couple stats that are worth mentioning, like 18% of deals are falling out of contract right now. That's a big number.
Wow, that's
in
high.
our market.
That's really high.
It's really high. And it's because buyers are being extra picky during inspection. Some sellers are just not having it. They're throwing in the towel and saying, let's just start over again. And so that's happening. And then also the other really interesting stat is, on average, homes are reducing price 2 times before they get to their current list price. And then they're taking 98% of the current list price.
Wow.
So that usually means, homes are going for about 4% under what they originally started at.
They started.
Yeah, to begin with. And so on average in our market, that's a $32,000 price reduction on average from where they start to where they sell.
So if you're getting multiple offers and over asking price in this market, you're doing really well.
You're doing extremely well.
All right.
It's because you have a really good pricing strategy and marketing strategy, typically, that gets you there, right? And your home is very updated and appealing.
And you did the work, the elbow grease, right?
Yeah, and we're still seeing that happen on occasion.
Yep.
It's just more rare, but it's happening.
Yeah, I had one home that was like, they had like 11 or 13 offers in like one weekend. And I was just like, wow, this is unheard of. But there was such unique aspects to the property that was just not common anywhere else. So it had like a 0.3 acre lot. It had, everything was set up. The basement was kind of set up as a separate rental with a separate entrance. Everything was remodeled to the nines. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Yep, definitely. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate you being here with us. And hopefully this helps you find some really good winning strategies for buyers here in this hot market. And we appreciate you listening. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to our channel, we'd love to have you continue to listen to these podcasts and get information about the Denver Metro real estate market here on the Real Estate Huddle.